Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. Okay, George Kambosos wins a majority decision over Maxi Hughes. The scores were 114, 114, 115, 113 and 117, 111. 117, 111, I do not understand. I cannot understand it. 115, 113, okay, no problem. I had it 114, 114. But let me say, this is the type of fight I would be desperate to watch again and to rescore, because it was so difficult, and I'll explain why in a moment. It was one of those fights where, I don't know, the styles never really gelled. I mean, first of all, Maxi Hughes, who was the IBO lightweight champ, he's a southpaw and he's a counterpuncher, and he's very physical. George, orthodox, clearly struggled with the southpaw stance. I watched a video by Chris Andre when he was giving his preview for this, and he mentioned that George had only faced one southpaw previously, very early on in his career. I didn't know that, but it showed. I think, well done, Chris. I mean, that's why you should watch Chris Andre's channel. It's fantastic. He always sees these things that perhaps some of us don't. And it did show, because the southpaw stance gave him some grief, George. George, first two rounds, I mean, Maxi wasn't doing anything, was just sort of having a look at George and maybe trying to time him. George was faster, but of course, when you've got someone who's faster than you, you simply, you simply work on the timing. Timing can defeat speed. I always remember, who was it now? Very famous Sugar Shane Mosley, when he fought, what was his name, the guy who was murdered? Shit, my mind's totally blanked. Anyway, it was totally one-sided. Vernon Forrest, I'm thinking of. Vernon Forrest twice beat Shane Mosley. Mosley was obviously so much faster than him and everyone else. This was at welterweight, but Vernon Forrest got the timing right, floored Mosley twice in the first fight, and then completely outpointed him. The speed meant nothing because the timing was there. And in this fight, Kambosos was having to work out the southpaw stance. Maxi Hughes was trying to time the speed of Kambosos. It took him a few rounds, but gradually he got into it. And in the third round, I thought Maxi did very, very well with the timing. I thought, oh, he's getting the timing down, he's countering well. The problem was, throughout the whole fight, is that Maxi was giving individual pot shots, and they were good ones. I mean, he landed a terrific punch to the pit of the stomach. I think that was in the third round, which actually, shuddered George quite a bit. And George was, moving. He was trying to be industrious, lots of feints. He's very sort of herky-jerky sort of style. Hangs his what is he now? Orthodox. So he hangs his left hand low, likes to come in, likes to give a few shoulder rolls, but he comes in the front door most of the time, straight in. And he couldn't get his foot on the right side of Hughes's foot. That southpaw thing was giving him grief. And gradually, Maxi was, again, landing a really good individual punches. And George was missing with a lot, but he was still landing in some of the rounds, which made me think, okay, he's the guy who's being proactive. He's the guy who's moving forward. He's landing some punches. Maxi's getting the odd 2 or 3 around in that are very, very clean, but he's not building on those individual pot shots. And Maxi used his feet well. He controlled the range well. Good, what you might call ring generalship. But George, I just felt was forcing the issue, and if there are close rounds, I'm tempted to give those to the guy who is being proactive. That's not to say that I can't see people giving Maxi the rounds. I mean, this was such a difficult fight to score. The commentary team, the American commentary team, they were saying, oh, Maxi's winning most of the rounds, he's boxing beautifully, George can't work him out. I mean, I can understand why they were saying that, but they were giving most of the rounds to George. And I thought, no, See, I will never ever score drawn rounds. I will always say, even if it's just by one punch, I'll give it to one guy, and then I might watch it back and think, I should have given it to the other guy. But when you're watching it live, to me, if you give a draw round, I don't think there's any such thing as a round that should be scored a draw, because surely one person is going to land one more punch, unless they do absolutely nothing, either of them, and they only land one punch each or something like that. Then I can't see a reason for giving a drawn round. But with this fight, there were several where I was thinking, what do I like? Do I like this? Do I like that? Very, very difficult fight to score. Anyway, I think in the fourth round, George picks up a cut, which is above the eye. It's controlled. I think they'd stitched around in the corner for George. I think it was the fifth round. There was a clash of heads, and Maxi has a sort of little gash on his forehead. Again, it's controlled, no real issue. And again, it was sort of nip and tuck. I put it this way: I think that Maxi won his rounds bigger than George won his rounds. And at the end, I had it 114, which again, it was one of those fights. It wasn't an exciting fight. It was mildly intriguing. But how one of the guys got it 117, 111 to Kambosos, I do not know. Kambosos in his post-fight interview said, I won most of the rounds. Well, I don't think you did, mate. You may have pinched it, but I don't think you won most of the rounds. Kambosos was adamant he'd won. Maxi said afterwards, he was very, very humble. He said, look, it's a kick in the bollocks, was how he described it. I don't know whether the Americans would pick up on that, but yeah, it was a kick in the bollocks. Maxi was, very, very disappointed. He said he was gutted and, devastated. And I can understand why, but he won the crowd over. The crowd he came in wearing a big, Stetson and wore it in the post-fight interview. He said, I feel like a bit of an idiot wearing this now that I've lost. But he won over definitely won over the crowd, and some of them were booing George. I put a gun to my head and I think maybe Maxi should have retained it by a point or two, even though I scored it a draw. If I watched it again, I've got a feeling I'd probably edge it towards Maxi, but anyway, George picks up the IBO lightweight title. Quite an unsatisfying fight though. We've got Fulton and Inoue coming up on Tuesday morning, which I can't wait for. Hopefully that delivers, because I thought this would be a really good fight, and it wasn't. It was intriguing in places, but I definitely think that it wasn't a very satisfying fight to watch at all. So Kambosos moves to, 21 wins and 2 defeats. 2 defeats for Tahaney. Maxi slips to 26 wins, 6 defeats, 2 by stoppage, and 2 draws. He's 33 now, Maxi. George, just George, pushing 30, is he? I don't know. I know he's not that young, but he's not that old either. He can pick up a few more paychecks, George, but if he's going to have any chance of tearing up trees in this very, very stacked lightweight division, he's going to have to box and fight a lot better than that. A lot better. And Maxi, he can collect some paychecks too, So yeah, what do you think of this? This was a top rank promotion. I think George is signed the top rank. So I don't know whether that affected the scorecards, but one guy did have it 114. What do you think of George's performance? What do you think of Maxi's performance? Leave your comments below. I want to read them. I'll answer them. I might try and watch this again and see what I think, but I've only just finished watching it for the first time, and these are my thoughts. Leave yours below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you can do that, that'd be fantastic. And of course, like the video if you liked it, and I appreciate your time as always. So yeah, take care, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and bye for now.